influence, whether it's to improve accountability with our team members, whether it's to drive a Six Sigma methodology into our day-to-day business operations, whether it's to reduce the number of medical errors that we see in our hospitals, or on a more individual level. Perhaps we're looking to lower our cholesterol level, or exercise more, or lose all that weight we've been battling for several years. And we know that for many of us, this is a constant challenge. Here's the problem. Nobody lives in a vacuum. Long-standing bad habits are almost always influenced by other humans who either encourage or enable the wrong behaviors, or discourage or disable the right ones. The solution is for us to harness the power of social pressure by finding strength rather than resistance in numbers. We think about social pressure, and we're reminded of our teenage years, right? Can you guys all remember your hairstyle in 9th grade? This is not something you would have chosen on your own, right? Other people influence our choices in terms of what we wear and how we act and how we talk. And somehow as we get older, we begin to think that we're wiser, we're more sophisticated, and we're somehow immune to those same social pressures. The bad news, guys, is that we're just every bit as susceptible as we always have been, but we're less aware of it. And so it's important for us to begin to think about how we can harness the power of our social capital. How can we tap into that as a force for good, rather than let those pressures play out on us in ways we don't ever realize? We're going to take a look at a quote here. More children are punished for mimicking their parents than ever for disobeying them. For those of us who are parents, this is startling and scary to think about. And yet, for me, it's a powerful reminder that we are often unaware of the influence that we, too, have on others. Okay, as a boss, might I have influence over the hours that my employees keep? Consider that in some ways, these are very, very subtle influences. We may not even recognize that we're exerting that influence. We know that as bosses, we influence the way work gets done. And so recognizing that this social power is real can be very helpful for us. What we're going to talk about today are the kinds of things that influence people. And we know that there are 6 sources of influence, but the 2 most significant sources of influence have to do with the way we interact with each other. So we're going to talk essentially here about the social influence that we have. We're focused on social motivation as well as social ability here. So the idea is that there are 3 things that we can do. We can use strategy number 1, pave the way. What we're talking about here is modeling good behavior. So if I want somebody's behavior to change, there are things I can do to model that behavior in such a way that the other person is excited to try to do something differently when perhaps before they might not have been. The second strategy suggests that we can enlist the power of those who motivate. We can get help. We don't have to do everything all by ourselves. And thirdly, the third strategy suggests seek the support of those who enable. So this is about modeling good behavior. It's about praising good behavior. It's about helping people make different choices. It's about providing coaching and guidance and mentoring so that people find it easy to move into a new direction. Let's talk about this first strategy, pave the way. This suggests that we should be the first to behave in new ways. If we want people's behavior to change, if I'm looking to change a whole organizational culture, I should begin to model some of those behaviors. We know that if one person voices concerns or suggests a different path, it can often have a profound effect on others' behaviors. Recently, I've been doing some work with a major hospital who has been plagued by some patient safety problems over the past couple of years, and they've had a lot of media exposure that they're really doing a lot of work to overcome. I'm so excited to see all of the strides they've made. They've invested so heavily in building crucial skills among their clinical staff members. And I've been very involved in working with their leaders to implement a training program so that we can empower their clinical staff to be able to speak up when they recognize problems unfolding around them. If a nurse sees a doctor failing to wash his hands, we know that there can be tremendous medical consequences from that. So if a nurse learns to speak up and hold that doctor accountable in that moment, even despite a power differential in a situation where most people find it very uncomfortable and difficult to raise concerns. We're going to be able to see that organizational culture move in a very positive direction. So I've been working with this organization, and lately we spent 4 days together. I was rolling out new crucial skills for the leaders in this organization to then be able to take to their clinical staff. And at the conclusion of 4 days together, we spent an afternoon identifying a plan for how to develop an implementation plan for this training program. We talked for 4 hours, and at the end of our conversation, the leader of the meeting suggested a very aggressive timeline by when we anticipated the training would be completed, and then asked the group if anyone had any concerns or reactions to that suggestion. There was no reaction in the room, so we all assumed everybody felt really good about that, and we began to move forward. We spent the next couple of hours plotting out our plan and making commitments and moving forward to documenting this official plan. Now, at that moment, something interesting happened. A lone hand from the back of the room was raised, and a very brave soul named Cynthia began to speak up, and she said, "I have to tell you, I'm concerned about this schedule. I think that it's too aggressive. And my fear is that the quality of the training is going to suffer." She said, my even bigger concern is that we have so many other initiatives that we're responsible for, and something's going to fall through the cracks, and we're not going to feel good about what we're trying to accomplish as a team. Even worse than that, I'm worried that it's going to have such an effect on our ability to relate to each other and feel engaged that team morale is going to suffer. And my fear is that we're moving too quickly when we set this deadline. A hush fell over the room. This is a bit of a shift in our conversation, you can see. But then a miraculous thing started to happen. Hands began to pop up all across the room. And Cynthia's colleagues began to chime in and say, "You know what, I have some concerns too." The whole conversation shifted in a very different direction at that point. We began to have a very productive conversation about what this plan looked like. And as it turned out, we decided that we would make some agreements to revisit the timeline, that we would agree to come back in a couple of weeks and make adjustments as necessary depending on how things were going. This was a remarkable shift in the conversation. What surprised me even more, though, was at the very end of the meeting, Cynthia approached me complaining. She said, "You know what really makes me crazy?" She said, "Everyone in that meeting for 2 hours was nudging each other and rolling their eyes, and they were grumbling under their breath and complaining, but nobody would speak up." Well, surprise, surprise, that's why we're here, right? We're talking about crucial skills for speaking up. I'm not surprised that we're struggling with that. And yet, her decision to raise her hand and speak up propelled the entire room in a different direction. We're trying to change behaviors. You want to see progress, be the first one. It has a remarkable impact on groups. Second strategy suggests that we should be enlisting the power of those who motivate. So we need to identify who are the people who will either motivate or discourage the behaviors we're looking for. And I might be one of those motivators, but there could be others. We want to remember the importance of engaging formal leaders inside of our organizations. Let me suggest to you, in our work rolling out crucial conversation skills training to employees across multiple industries over multiple geographies for the past several decades, what we've seen time and time again is that people are excited to learn new skills, and they say, "I'm ready, I know what I'm doing, I'm excited, and I am going to do this." But my biggest concern is that I'm going to get out there, and my boss is going to say, "What are you doing?" And my boss is not going to support this. And I can't do this if I don't have the support of my boss. And by the way, where are they? Because here we all are sitting in this classroom, and I don't see my manager in here, so I don't really think anything's going to change around here. So here's what we've learned. If you can start at the top, if you can influence the influencers and let that cascade down through the organization, that has a monumental impact on people's engagement. It has a monumental impact on your ability to motivate change inside of an organization. So don't forget the importance of engaging your formal leaders, because they can destroy your plan very, very quickly when they don't back it up. The second key piece of enlisting the power of those who motivate suggests that we also need to identify opinion leaders. Opinion leaders are the people in your work and in your lives who are socially connected and well-respected. These people tend to be pretty smart people. They tend to adopt ideas rather quickly, and they can be tremendously helpful in engaging other people's support and motivation. If you don't happen to know who those people are, here's a quick way to find out. Get everybody in your organization to submit names anonymously, top 3 names, Ask them this question: whose opinion do you respect and value the most inside this organization? And collect the names. If a name shows up once, you can bet the person just wrote their own name down. Good for them, right? If a name shows up twice, somebody has a buddy. But if a name shows up 10 times or more, it's worth paying attention. You want to look for the top 500 folks whose names surface over and over and over again. And these are your influencers inside your organization. These are your opinion leaders. Spend a disproportionate amount of time influencing those people, and they will do all your legwork for you. They're going to run around selling your ideas. Now, if you don't do a good job of selling to them, they're going to kill your idea. So just be prepared for that. You got to win them over first. So start there. Your opinion leaders can do tremendous value for you. Now, we also need to be clear about what the actions you're asking them to take. Here's what we're looking for. We're looking to motivate. We're looking to praise the right behaviors. We're looking to hold people accountable for the wrong behaviors. And we're looking to encourage people to hold their leaders accountable. You get a whole bunch of people doing that, and you will see change so fast. Now, the reality, too, is you also have to find a way to make it easy for folks to make changes. And so we also want to seek the support of those who enable. Who are the enablers? These are people who are going to either help you move forward or who are going to hinder your process. And the reality is you might have people who are negatively influencing change. You might have people who are positively influencing change, but these are still your influencers, and it's good to understand kind of what you're working with. Enablers are people who help. And I cannot express to you the importance enough of setting up support structures for your folks if you're looking to change behaviors. It is hard to adopt new behaviors. It is even harder to let go of the old ones, isn't it? Okay, so what we're trying to do is create systems and structures that naturally provide coaching and guidance and resources. If you are looking for people to change their behaviors, you can bring team members together who have a shared common purpose. Put them together, get them talking. They will support each other. They will find ways to brainstorm. They will find ways to help each other and overcome obstacles. You can put together panels of specialists, panels of experts who can provide resources and help and assistance for folks. Coaches, mentors, anyone who can be there to answer questions. The goal of the enablers is this. You're going to create plans for new behaviors. You're going to identify what's going to get in the way of those new behaviors. And as you do, recognize what are the warning signs that tell us that something's off track here. How do we know when we're not accomplishing our goals? And once we know that, how can we get back on track? What are the subtle shifts in behavior we're looking for so that we can recover quickly? Because we know nothing's perfect. I will share with you that I have seen this work marvelously in the work that I've done over the past 5 years. I have been working with focus groups of women, bringing together 8 strangers for a 2-month period. And with these 8 women, what I asked them to do is identify things that matter to them. What are their goals, whether personal or professional? What would they like to accomplish in their lives? And as a group, they make commitments to each other. And they share, here's what I'm working on. You know, for years I've wanted to start my own business. Or I'd like to lose weight. Or I'd like to leave a troubled relationship. And together they come, not knowing each other at all, week by week by week, sharing with each other the progress they've made on their goals. It is stunning to me to see what these women have been able to achieve in a 2-month period to overcome problems that have haunted them for decades. And repeatedly, they come back to me and they tell me, this changed my life. And you know what it did? You know what it did for me? It gave me some accountability. I've always wanted to do it, but having to show up at a meeting every week and talk to other women who are equally passionately focused on getting change accomplished made me excited to do it. And I ran out of excuses. And I knew I'd be held accountable at that meeting. And if I didn't show, someone was going to call and bother me and make me explain myself. And that was all I needed to be able to get it done. So maybe you don't establish groups. Perhaps that isn't a luxury, but certainly you can find a buddy. You know, if you're looking to start working out more, tell somebody to meet you on the corner at 6 a.m. And if they're waiting for you, tapping their foot, you're going to feel a little bit more inclined to get out of bed in the morning, right? We know that people can do tremendous work for us when they're there to hold us accountable and help us and provide us coaching and support. So don't overlook that. It's very important as you ask people to make changes inside your organizations and inside your own lives. I want to pause here and just thank you all for thinking through your own influence challenges and ask you to think about what you can do to motivate and enable change in your own lives, in your own organizations. For many of you, it might be very subtle, small shifts in the choices that you make, but we know that huge behavioral change can come from that.